Hi, everybody. I'm Richard Sher, and it's time to, boom, square off our inaugural show. And here are your panelists Professor Rick Vatz, attorney Darlene Kennedy, talk show wizard Jimmy Mathis, and former Baltimore Mayor Sheila Dixon. Well, listen to this, everybody. We are making history with this square off. Rick Vatz, you'll be interested. For the very first time in the more than 40 years of Square Off here in the Baltimore market, this edition will air during two U.S. presidencies, President Biden's departure and President-elect Donald Trump's second inauguration, all in one show. We begin. I'd like to ask our panel your thoughts on the beginning of Donald Trump's second term in the White House. Rick Vatz.
Well, I think the president is going to be in good shape. He's going to have his entire cabinet approved. He's got the House behind him. He's got the Senate behind him. The one area that I'm concerned about is foreign policy, because he thought he could intimidate people during his first term. In his second term, not so much.
Sheila?
So my philosophy is he's going to be the president on Monday, and I'm disappointed, but I've accepted it. I'm not depressed. I serve a good God, and I just pray that he takes a second look at some of his nominees, because I'm very concerned about some of them. And two, what people wanted him to focus on was the economy, immigration, those issues. And I hope that he focuses on those issues.
Jimmy Mathis.
So I'm going to respectfully disagree with Rick Vatz. I think one of Trump's most successful things that he did was foreign policy. If you remember, under the Obama administration, you had our largest Arab ally, Egypt, with the Arab Spring. You had ISIS, Bashar al-Assad in Syria. We were fast-tracking Iran to the bomb. Putin was rebuilding the former Soviet Union. All that ceased immediately under Trump. And you see right now, especially with Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu looking forward to working with Trump. I actually, respectfully, Rick, believe that foreign policy is going to be his greatest moment, and very quickly.
All right, Darlene, welcome to the show. Good to have you back.
Thanks. Just to follow up on what the former mayor said, this is America. I'm proud that we have a democracy where we can vote someone in office. I may not agree with the individual in the office, but I respect the presidency. I'm looking forward to see how he handles the issue with the social media TikTok issue. Now that the Supreme Court has made their decision on how that should be ruled, so that'll be interesting. Any executive orders he has in plan for immigration will be interesting to see. I'm just going to sit back and watch and observe and make my comments as things happen.
All right, on another topic, and we'll get back to Trump for sure. President Biden gave his farewell address to the nation on Wednesday night, warning that an oligarchy of the ultra-wealthy was emerging here in America, sounding the alarm about unchecked power. Who wants to comment on that? Let's kick it off.
I'm surprised that citizens had to look the word up. That's what frightens me, that Google blew up after his speech because people were looking up what the word oligarchy meant, which tells you where we are in this country. But I do agree that we could go in that direction.
Well, on inaugural day, there's going to be a whole group of the richest people in the world sitting on one stage.
Yep.
In fact, I hear Rick Vatz is also going to be up there.
Oh, Nancy Pelosi they're also. You look at anybody in Washington. See, this is the hypocrisy. This is why Joe Biden's rhetoric doesn't land with anybody. Okay, of course, it's the rich leading the country. What about Soros? The hypocrisy of that remark from the Oval Office when Biden had an opportunity to unite the country, pass the torch, the peaceful transition of power. And he didn't. He took cheap shots. Michelle Obama, I know you want to talk about this later, isn't even going to show up. Okay? Stop with the hypocrisy of it. Okay? Nancy Pelosi, all of them. They are passing bills with insider trading, knowing what the legislation they're going to pass on the companies that they're buying. They've all become uber rich. None of them make more than 250
All right.
a year. So just stop, Joe, and please go.
Look
I
at
think what he's saying is accurate. I don't, and you know, Jimmy, I agree with some of your points. I think, but what he said is very accurate, because what's going to happen is he set it up so that all of his rich buddies, and of course, you know how politics is, particularly at the federal level, at all levels. But the bottom line is these individuals have no morals. And so they don't care about the people. And we're going to be strangled and suffering from the federal level to the state level to the local level, because many of us are not going to be able to even afford to even survive based on BG&E going up, water bills going up, eggs going up, you know, you name it, medical insurance, etc. And so my concern is, what about the everyday citizen, the normal person that needs to survive? What about the next generation, the generation after that? You know, I'm thinking about my new granddaughter who just was born. You know, what happens in her lifetime?
Congratulations on your beautiful granddaughter. Darlene, what are your thoughts?
I got stunned for a minute. Come back to me, because I just lost my thought.
We'll help you.
Oh, I got you now. I'm sorry. What I was going to say is that with the exception of one of those rich CEOs, there are only white men on that dais. It will be only white men in that group, in that dais. And that's something to think about, where we are in this country in 2025, where there aren't more African-American CEOs running companies and sitting there with the president. I'm about capitalism. I want everyone to do well. I want everyone to have access. And the concern for some people is, will everyone equally have access to this administration?
All right, let me say something.
We write a check for $1 million or more.
Yeah, hold it. Sheila, hold it. Jimmy Mathis mentioned this. Former First Lady Michelle Obama is not going to be attending the Trump inauguration. Her husband, however, is. She has attended every inauguration since 2008, including President Trump's first in 2017. In 2023, Michelle commented on the first Trump swearing in with these words: "To sit on that stage and watch the opposite of what we represented on display. There was no diversity there. There were no people of color on that stage. Some people were taking our pictures, some commenting that Michelle did not look happy. No, I was not." And by the way, Michelle Obama also missed President Carter's funeral. She was in Hawaii, no reason given. Go ahead, Rick.
But keep in mind,
let me just say one second.
Was Trump and his wife at the last presidential inaugural?
Let me just say,
Biden's?
Michelle, let me just say, Michelle Obama has a history of loving the United States when everything goes her way, and when it doesn't, she trashes the country. You know, she said at one point, for the first time, I'm proud of my country. She believes that the country's doing well when all of her opinions are followed. It's just absurd. And on the notion of Joe Biden's farewell address, it was one of the worst farewell addresses I have ever heard. You know, as soon as the oligarchs leave him and go for Trump, now they're a problem. They weren't a problem when they were for him. You know, his honoring of George Soros, as mentioned by Jimmy, is relevant in that. He went through cliche after cliche on that. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We all believe in freedom of speech. We're ahead of China. Beware of the oncoming oligarchs.
Wrap it up, Rick.
People need to pay their fair share in taxes. All of it was cliche and all of it was contradictory.
You're watching our Square Off inaugural program. We're going to pause for just a moment, get back to the action. Here's the voice of Square Off, President Howard Mallison.
President of what?
President of your desk. President of commercials.
There you go. Thank you, Rich. You know, we would like to welcome our newest sponsor to Square Off, Dr. Kelly Gagan. She's a board-certified podiatrist and heel specialist, and both Richard and I are her very satisfied clients. Dr. Gagan knows that the appearance of your feet matter just as much as correcting any problems you may have. And if you're experiencing toenail fungus, which embarrasses you to wear sandals or open-toed shoes and have tried over-the-counter remedies that don't work, laser treatment is an easy way, and it goes right to the cause of the fungus. And it may be right for you. So give Dr. Gagan a call at 410-753-4422 to set up an appointment. It really works. And auto accidents are on the rise. And if your car has been in an accident, the insurance companies cannot tell you where to take it. That's why more and more people are trusting their auto repairs and auto maintenance to leading edge auto body and mechanical repair. They work on all makes and models, and they offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in the Baltimore area. So give them a call at 410-433-6433 or visit them at 5807 Falls Road in the heart of Mount Washington. They make your car look and run like new again. Back to you, Rich.
Howard, let me add that my wife and I are patients of Dr. Gagan, and she is exceptional.
Well, Rick Vatz, that was terrific. We're going to send a check this time, not a money order. Kelly Gagan is fabulous. I took an infected nail to her, and she nailed it. Get it? And of course, leading edge. They make your cars look and like new. Their work is amazing. But anyway,
And I'm a leading edge.
that's right. Jimmy goes to leading edge.
Okay.
Great.
I mean, why don't we just stop and talk about leading edge? During this past week, and Sheila made a reference to this, the Trump cabinet nominees began to be questioned by the Senate Armed Services Committee, leading off with Secretary of Defense nominee Pete Hegseth, put on the hot seat by Democratic senators and lauded by the Republicans. Hegseth dismissing charges of sexual assault, sexual misconduct, excessive drinking, being unfaithful to his wife, having a baby. It's just a lot of stuff. But Sheila, you have a problem with some of these nominees.
So I watched that hearing, and I personally felt that his personal life is his personal life, but he does not have the experience. He's never managed more than 100 people. He really didn't talk about the changes that he was really going to make within that huge organization. The question that was asked about, have you ever overseen a forensic audit? It was a yes or no answer. To me, it's about experience. It's about, is this the right person? And I just felt that giving him that major responsibility is going to be very detrimental to this country.
Jimmy.
Based on his experience. I don't care about his personal life.
Okay, Jimmy.
I kind of agree with Sheila on this. The hearings I could care less about. They're so politicized. I don't believe that there's any real purpose behind the hearings. I'm not sure, and his personal life should be left out of this. I'm not worried about him being defense secretary. I'm just not sure he's the best pick. And if you're going to objectively look at this, I feel like there were better picks that Trump could have put up for it. I think he will get confirmed. I'm not worried about him. I think he'll be okay. But I agree with Sheila on this. I think there were better picks to
I think you're going to really have more and more people who leave the military. There's already a shortage. I mean, his record on women alone that he changed a month ago when he got the nominee.
They didn't care about the personal stuff.
That's being taken out of context, and I think that's a little bit of follow the shiny thing when women serving in the military. I think his words were taken out of context on that. But again, I think there are more qualified candidates that Trump could have put up to.
I think it may not be the most qualified, but I have never seen a candidate so intent on doing a good job as he. Right. I think he's excellent. I think he has tremendous support from conservatives and also tremendous support from those who have dealt with him in the past. And I think he promises not to drink at all. That's quite a promise. And all the accusations against him personally, none of them has a source on record. So I think that he is. I think he's. I don't think he's the best candidate, but I think he's a good candidate.
All right, Jimmy Mathis, I see you were smiling. What are you smiling about?
the funniest thing on the drinking thing, and I forgot who the senator was, but as the panel, how many of you have shown up drunk for a late night vote? And if you hear the smirks throughout that room, okay,
right? But they're senators. They're senators. To me, that's not the issue. Right. It's how you're going to command your military and all these forces to be effective and do the type of job. And I just believe you find the best person who has the best experience to do these kind of jobs.
Well, look, the commander-in-chief is trying to put somebody in charge of the Pentagon that is going to be in line with their wishes. I mean, that's what Trump is doing. I defended Barack Obama under this when the Republicans were doing the exact same thing to Barack Obama in 2008 through his confirmation process of who he wanted to lead these various departments. I do believe that the president should have the ability to put people as secretaries that are going to be in harmony with what they want to do. Yes, there has to be congressional oversight, and you're seeing that. Look, Trump won the election, like it or not. So the majority of Americans are behind his vision of where we go moving forward.
And there's no profound disqualifying.
Well, I'm predicting he's going to be there.
Aspect of him whatsoever. So I think he ought to be approved. This doesn't
hold on a second.
Doesn't mean
I want to hear from Darlene. We haven't heard from you in a few minutes.
Oh, yeah, because I really don't think anything to add. I don't want to take up too much time. I mean, I really agree with the group in the sense that it shouldn't matter what his past is, because otherwise we wouldn't have two guys on the Supreme Court that had similar issues and allegations made at them. So I just think that he has not shown the tenure and experience necessary. As a former military spouse, I support the military. I want the best for those men and women who put their lives on the line every single day for us. And I hope if he is confirmed that he does the job, the best job for the Pentagon and for the country, not just to serve the president of the United States.
Rick, let me ask you this, Rick. Are you dissatisfied with any of the president-elect's nominees?
Well, let me say about some of his nominees. I think he's got the kind of diversity we need. And that is, he's got Marco Rubio, the first Latino Secretary of State. He's got Scott Bessent, who's openly gay. He's got Susan Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, the first woman in that position. He's got Scott Turner, the African-American who will serve as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development.
Yeah, but who is that guy? What, come on now, who is that guy who's going to serve as Secretary of Housing? What's his background? What's his experience?
What was Ben Carson's background?
Okay, I get it.
Good question. Good question.
He grew up in public housing. He knew what it was like to be poor. Yes, he is a renowned surgeon, but this guy was a former what? Football player or something?
Yes.
That's one thing about these this is whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats. One thing I've always observed about HUD selections, it almost seems to be a throwaway. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to the housing authority and the people who live there, because I grew up in it. But the fact is kind of like, oh, here, you can have this position. They don't really vet people. They're not looking for people who have engineering backgrounds or who've served in positions that would understand how to manage hundreds of buildings across the country. That would be my guess.
These are people that Trump has selected to help him run the country. Jimmy, what were you going to say? I want to move on. Go ahead.
About our country, right? We were talking about this earlier. The fact that anybody can achieve the highest position in the land. Trump never won dog catcher before becoming president. And whether you like him or not, whatever, he's now serving a second term. Same thing with these various secretary positions, right? You don't have to come from royalty to be part of the process. Now, we can have a disagreement on how those positions are achieved, but the fact that somebody doesn't necessarily have the experience, maybe they bring other things to the table. Isn't that what makes America beautiful?
Hey guys, let me ask you this. This is a story that broke at the end of the week. It's kind of interesting when we learned that former first daughter, Ivanka Trump, says she will have absolutely no role in her father's presidency. She says the reason can be summed up in 3 words. I hate politics. So what do you think about that, Dar?
Good for her. Good for her standing up. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's an executive, and she should have the right to not want to be involved in any politics if she does not want to.
And probably her first experience being intricately involved with his first candidacy, his first presidency, she probably sees the what goes on behind the scenes, and it can be a turnoff. And
you may not want to get involved in politics, but let me tell you something that I told my classes for 50 years. Anyone who says they're uninterested in politics better watch out, because politics is interested in them. And so politicians love people who say they're uninterested in politics because they can be swayed to irresponsible policy support. It is just outrageous that people think it's an honorable thing to say they're not interested in politics when it affects everybody's lives.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but I don't think that's where her perspective is coming from. I think hers is coming from being a part of that process and seeing what happened during her father's administration. I mean, I think it had to do more with that, because you're right. You can't avoid politics because it controls everything.
All right, let me say this, that during the Capitol riots, Ivanka was apparently in the White House, in the dining room or wherever her father was, urging him, among other people who were urging President Trump to step in and ask these people to get out of the Capitol and to go home. But all he did, apparently, was the president, rather, sat there and watched it all unfold on TV and then later made a statement. We're going to take a quick break with Howard, and we'll be back in just a moment about Maryland taxes.
Thank you, Richard. You know, I'm sure you've seen some of the Barry Glazer TV commercials. They're different, they get your attention, and they also get your results. That's one of the reasons why Barry Glazer and his team, including an in-house doctor and nurse, make no apologies for getting every penny they can from the insurance companies. So when it comes to personal injury or medical malpractice, there's only one choice. That's Barry Glazer at 410-547-8568. And you know, there's a lot of diners in Baltimore, and the most famous of them all are the Double T diners. TT, totally terrific. You're sure to find the best breakfast, lunch, or dinner from the Double T's enormous menu selections. There's Double T locations on Route 40 West, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Bel Air, Laurel, Annapolis, Pasadena, and the EC Diner in Ellicott City. Plus, try By the Docks on Middle River for their Monday night lobster special. They're all part of the Double T family. Back to you, Rich.
All right, Howard, listen up, everybody. Former Governor Hogan and current Governor Moore are blaming each other for the almost $3 billion budget deficit. But Governor Moore made an announcement about taxes. He says the state will not raise sales or property taxes for the third year in a row. Instead, Governor Moore says 2/3, about 66%, would get a tax cut. 16% will see no impact on their taxes, leaving 18% of the state's top earners to, quote, dig deeper into their wallets.
All lies. All lies. What he talked about, and nobody's covering this in the market right now, he's going after small business owners. That is who is going to be shouldering the brunt of what he is talking about, and the casinos and people smoking marijuana. Who's really going to be bearing the brunt of this is small business owners. When you look at inflation, wage stagnation, still trying to recover out of COVID, it was the most disingenuous speech I've ever seen. We have a state budget right now that's what, $7 billion. It's more than doubled in the last 10 years, while the quality of life has gone down in the state. People are making a mess. Yeah, I am going to filibuster on this one. People are mass exodus into Florida. The millionaires, the billionaires, which isn't even who he's talking about, is leaving. It is disgraceful. I thought Wes Moore was on fast track to be the next president of the United States, and he is costing himself that so quickly, and he doesn't even see it.
Really?
Yes.
Go, Rick.
Let me add this. Part of the problem, and I have to be careful here, because Britt Kerwin is like a hero of mine. I think he's one of the finest men that's ever been in Maryland. But his program which is the cost of all the billions that we have to make up, is just irresponsible. To throw money at education. Tell me the history. Tell me when throwing money at education has ever improved education. Tell me when it's ever improved graduate rates. Tell me when it's ever improved people's lives. It doesn't. And yet we continue to do it, and we do not talk about the number one problem, which is families.
Correct.
So the fact is that is it, and I hate to say this because I really respect Britt so much, but I think that this is a boondoggle of boondoggles.
Wrap it. All right, chill. Oh, go ahead,
So,
Jim.
well, two
Sheila.
things. One, I understand Hogan being upset because when I hear at the local level about prior administrations and not doing X, Y, and Z, which is so incorrect. It's just so incorrect. But I'm going to be talking more about that in 2025 because I can give a lot of facts and truth. But I was disappointed in his budget, and I agree. The blueprint is strangling us. We're not going to be able to create. In the Anne Arundel County superintendent on C4's show the other morning, C4 and Brian Neiman, he was so truthful. He said, it'll be 15, 20 years before we could create a 3-year program because we don't have the infrastructure. So the blueprint is the issue. That $173 a year, people are going to end up spending more. So you're talking about no taxes, but all the fees for emissions is going from $14 to $30. So people have left. People left Jimmy, Maryland under the O'Malley administration businesses because of the taxes. So we're going to have more people leave. I agree with you.
Jimmy, make it brief.
Hogan vetoed these bills. I mean, I'm no fan of Hogan. I have been more than critical of Larry Hogan. Okay,
I'm not a fan of him either, but I know how he feels.
But you can't blame him on the budget. Okay, the Democrats in Annapolis overrode his veto. You can't blame Hogan on that one.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. I mean, Hogan has been on the right side of his. And again,
but I'm glad that I'm glad that the governor is talking about the economy, and I hope it's just not all words, because we have the infrastructure to be able to create so many areas that we could benefit our economy, in the biotechnology, in the medical, in so many areas. But the blueprint is strangling us.
Let me get in here a minute. Governor Moore has announced the plan, as we mentioned, to fix the $3 billion budget deficit. This includes an overhaul of Maryland's personal income taxes, giving 2/3 of fellow filers an average tax cut of a whopping $173, while raising hundreds of millions of dollars more from those making more than $500,000, like Darlene Kennedy.
Maybe in my next life. Unfortunately, this is a problem across the country when it comes to how do we fix a budget. I mean, as individuals, we all have to do it. We have to be accountable to someone, whether it's the electric bill or the phone bill, whatever it may be. We need to start holding these elected people accountable when they say they're going to do something with the budget. And I don't agree with punishing, what some conceive as punishing people because they made it. It should be, I believe everyone should give their fair share. I don't know how that works in the real world, but I don't agree with, just because you make $2 billion, you should definitely pour more into the system. That's not fair.
All right.
Give me 30 seconds.
Fine. 30 seconds. First of all, we're not talking about millionaires and billionaires. We're talking about small business owners who are more than paying their fair share. Number one. Number two, one of the most idiotic things I've ever heard come out of Annapolis, which takes a lot, was Wes Moore saying you can't cut your way to prosperity. What you need to do is get your own house in order first. And what he said was, that's a non-starter. We are going to spend more than we spent last year and the year before, and more than double what we spent 10 years ago. That's non-negotiable. We have to spend more. Yeah, you do need to cut your way to prosperity. You have to get your house in order. You have to balance. Absolutely.
We only have a couple minutes left. I do want to mention the last minute issues that have been worked out, and the Israel-Hamas ceasefire plan is now a go, signed by Israel, Hamas, the United States, Qatari officials. The first of the hostages expected to be released on Sunday, January the 18th. The families of the hostages have been informed, and both President Biden and President-elect Trump each taking credit for helping bring the peace.
What happens on Monday, Richard?
Inauguration Day.
Oh, that timing of that's amazing, isn't it? It's exactly how we started the show.
But let me say, before people start celebrating so much, this is a mixed victory. And there's no clear statement as to what Israel is going to do after 42 days pass. I'm telling you, when you're dealing with a completely jihadist, genocidal group like Hamas, you have to be careful, and you have to be careful as to what you promise, because they need to be wiped out. And some people think this is the first area that Trump is showing some weakness on. And I think it's concerned. Let me add one thing, if I may. There's a wonderful blog by Caroline Glick that a former friend of mine from my high school sent to me that is just great. Watch it if you get a chance. Caroline Glick.
Okay. Thank you, Caroline Glicks. Number one fan. Sheila, 30 seconds. Darlene, 30, and then we'll wrap it with Jimmy.
So I've been since the announcement was made, I've been listening to different news shows, trying to really get a sense of, is this really going to happen, or how many people, or, I agree. How do you fix this complicated issue? Yes, release these hostages, allow people to go back to their families. But will this end? I don't think it is going to. I just don't think it will.
Not unless they're wiped out.
Go ahead, Dar.
My heart breaks for the Palestinians who are not part of Hamas, who have not been in that fight, who are dying every day. This all has to stop. Netanyahu is dodging bullets because he knows that they want him out as well in Israel, and we're going to have to see what happens.
Jimmy,
do I have to talk about Israel, or do I have 30 seconds for whatever I want to talk about?
I want you to talk about, here's what I want you to talk about. Final 30 seconds, the new Jimmy Mathis show online. You have 30 seconds.
Thank you, Richard. I just relaunched the Jimmy Mathis show. We started it last Monday. It's Monday through Friday, drops around 7 a.m. You can find it on Facebook, X. YouTube is our main distribution source. It's on Pandora Radio, iHeartRadio. So thank you very much. All I was going to say, I love the fact that we're playing the Bills. I think we're going to beat the Bills. I'm playing Kansas City. I think Mahomes is beat up. I think Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback in the NFL. And not a huge sports fan, but we have a pretty good record in Narlands. So,
Jimmy, even if he never wins the Super Bowl, although I hope he does, he has changed the game. Lamar Jackson changed the game of football for quarterbacks forever.
I love it. Good.
He's changed it, but Henry has been one of his ammunition to help change it. But I don't know, that weather on Sunday in Buffalo, I hope we are prepared. That's all I have to
tough
say.
guys.
I want the best for us.
And they are inextricable.
Jimmy, Sheila, Darlene, Rick, thank you all. This is really a good inaugural show.
Thank you, Richard.
And we'll be back next week. We'll square off again after all the inaugural stuff is over. I'm Richard Sher. Have a great, safe week. And join us next week at the same time when once again we square off. Say goodbye. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.